Last one. Couple deep breaths, right? In the bank. All right, 15. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. That away, Jason. That away. Look at him. He's about to, this is his 5th mile. 5th mile, Jason Kalipa, 220-pound man. Sub 6-minute pace on a 1-to-1 ratio of work to rest. I mean, it's unbelievable. My name's Chris Hinshaw. I'm 50 years old and I live in Menlo Park, California.
He's just like the Rich Froning of running to me. Like if Rich and I are training and Rich is like, hey, I think you should do it this way, I'm like, okay. I think you know what you're talking about when it comes to CrossFit. When Chris and I are running, he's like, I think you need to do it with this pace. I think you need to do it this way. And that's the way I'm gonna do it.
When I first started working with Chris, I thought he's just a running, like kind of endurance guy. But I soon found out that he was like a legit triathlete. Like he was one of the best in the world at his time. So just makes it that much better.
Like I didn't even know he had won an Ironman or had placed as well as he did in different things until I dug it out of him.
The name being murmured on the crowded pier in Kailua was Hinshaw. For now it was Chris who owned the blue waters off Hawaii. Chris Hinshaw. Chris Hinshaw. Chris Hinshaw. Chris Hinshaw's day was far from over. A burst of late afternoon sun made it warm and humid again, and he did his best to keep cool.
The peak of the sport of triathlon is really measured, if you're looking at the sport of triathlon, it's at the Hawaiian Ironman. It is the world championships and it is the race that everybody within the sport would ultimately like to compete in. And I happen to be a specialist in longer distance events, and so the longer was really the better for me. And so I really started focusing on the Ironman as my primary race of choice. And so I've done the Ironman, I think, a total of 7 times in Hawaii. And each year I progressively got a little bit faster with a peak in 1985 where I finished 2nd place overall. 85 was a good year for me. 4 weeks prior to the Hawaiian Ironman was the short course national championships in Hilton Head, South Carolina. It was an Olympic distance race and I ended up placing 4th in that event, which was a surprise to me because that event is an hour and 50 minutes in length. And all of my training and everything that I was targeting was really geared towards the Ironman, which was 4 weeks later. So I didn't rest for the event, I just went in as a workout and happened to come away with a 4th place finish. So I knew that in 85 when I went to Hawaii there was going to be, I felt that I could do something special if I could really just hold it together.
Chris Hinshaw could finally see it. He could see his pace-setting finish in the swim, his swift wind-defying cycle run, his courage in the marathon, and the long runs with his father through the hills of Saratoga, California, all paying off. And he would find satisfaction and relief in all of it.
When I was performing in the sport of triathlons, it was really, the belief was work on volume, focus on volume, do a tremendous volume of work at a lower intensity to compete on that level. And what we were finding is that we can compete because of that intensity every weekend. It wasn't uncommon for me to race on a Saturday and then drive to a 2nd race on a Sunday, be able to manage that kind of volume. People were racing 20, 25 races during the year. We were also finding that our normal break period, which was after the Hawaiian Ironman, you would take a 2-month break. But now races were occurring in the Southern Hemisphere, and so we would be racing year-round. And the volume was incredible. And now when I reflect back on those days and I look at what athletes are doing today, it could have been done much easier. Meaning today, in order to be competitive, you're really having to target certain races. And maybe that race is 5 months from now. You may just do 2 Ironman distance races in the year and really focus and target on that one particular race. We rarely did that back then because we were doing such an incredible volume. I think now if I went back and I really worked on it, I think the value would be is using CrossFit to really create strength and to use CrossFit on my intensity side. A lot of triathletes, I know back in that day, no one was focusing on real high intensity strength programs. I never picked up a barbell before when I was doing the sport of triathlons, and I did it for 10 years. I was introduced to CrossFit for the first time. I happened to be in a meeting and Greg Almanson was there and Annie Sakamoto. And afterwards we got to talking about health and fitness, and it was Annie that she pulled me aside and she's all, I know that you've done a lot of volume in your day, and it's, she was very complimentary, and she said that, maybe if you think about this, you used all the same muscle groups over and over again, and if you focus on a program, a rehabilitation program that develops your neglected muscle groups, you could possibly become functional again. And for me, that word functional was a miracle, because here I was in my mid-40s, and just the damage from the sport of triathlons, it had taken its toll. People ask me, they said, well, how bad could it have been? And I would really struggle getting down flights of stairs because I felt like I was brittle. And for me, those moving sidewalks in airports and I would be the guy that would be standing off to the side. It was just a struggle, and for me to be where I was and recognize where I actually was at present was difficult for me. And so this functional, which is so ironic that that's a CrossFit word, was an incredible thing for me. It was such a raw, primal, scary thing that I was seeing, because I had never picked up a barbell before, and I was so damaged, that there was I couldn't do something like that. There was no way, I couldn't. I left that day. I couldn't do it. I couldn't make myself do it. As much as I wanted to be, healthy again, it was too much. And so that night I think was one of the worst nights I've had, because you really do a lot of reflecting, and for me to sit and think of who I was and now who I actually am was tough for me. I represented nothing of who I once was, and that hurt me a lot. And so I made myself go back, and I've been going back ever since, and that was 5 years ago. And I had never experienced intensity. I mean, I thought I did, but not until I was introduced to CrossFit. The intensity level at CrossFit brings about something special, and it was that intensity incorporated with my aerobic capacity work was creating levels of performance inside of me that I had never seen before. I mean, I started off, and my first mile, it was 6:20, and I went down to 6 minutes, and then the next time I tried, it was 5:25, and then went 5:08, and then went 4:58. And my 5K went down to 17:10, my 400's at 60.2, and those are numbers at 50 years old that you shouldn't be able to do. And the only thing that I am doing differently is adding CrossFit. That's it. It has been an incredible journey for me. I am shocked at, because of CrossFit, what I can do. I'm not only functional, I can do things that I could never have imagined myself doing, even back when I was a triathlete, back when I was one of the best in the world at it. It's remarkable for me, and it every day makes me happy. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Talk about today's workout. So Miranda, you're at 335, Garrett, you're at 255, and Jason, you're at 259. And same, well, I'm not worried, Garrett, I think you're good. And Jason, the goal again, let's not get behind, so let's not do a couple 302s. I think we should stay somewhere around 258, 259 on these opening ones.
So I had known Chris for a while, for like a year or two, as a member of the gym and whatnot. And I knew that he was big into endurance, and I talked to him, I was like, hey man, when January, February comes around, I'm ready to go. I'm gonna come hit you up, and I'm becoming your student, and I'll do whatever you say. Like I told him that.
So I had no plans of really working on my endurance like Jason had. Jason's my training partner, so kind of like what he does, I do. What I do, he does. So he just invited me to the track, and we just went off from there.
Jason was recognizing the need, to go and work on endurance training and work on aerobic capacity. And he kind of played around with the thought for a period of time, and then January of 2013, he came to me and he said, I need to work on my weakness. And so I told him, I said, you know what, I will do whatever it takes to make you into the best possible endurance athlete.
I mean, here's the thing. If I was to say that my endurance training was the only thing that got me on the podium, right, or the second place, I think, that's obviously you can't really claim that. It's not the only thing. But here's what it did do. It transferred over really well. So for a guy like me, I looked at my results from 2012. I placed top 10 in every event, except for the endurance events. I finished like 40th in each of those. To me, I was the only guy who finished in the top 10 of the CrossFit Games who had that much of a glaring hole. So to me, it was like, okay, if I could finish that one hole, if I could fix that, that's gonna put me right to the top.
And you wouldn't think that any running event, Jason Kleeman would be up towards the top. It just doesn't seem probable. You look at his form and technically everything is wrong on paper, but yet his mental strength is just so strong that he's actually up there with actual runners now. And that's what's so impressive about Jason right now.
So yes, my endurance, my aerobic capability got better, no question. My technique got better, no question. But I think the biggest thing that I learned from doing all this work with him is pacing appropriately and how much that really makes a difference.
So Garrett, on the other hand, is an unbelievably talented runner. He will run under a 5-minute mile next year. 23, 24, 25, 26. Wow, nicely done.
It was very fortunate that I did all this, because if you look at the games, there was a lot of running and there was a lot of longer events. Chris helped me tremendously, like on the row, Naughty Nancy, the burn and run, all that. Everything Chris did, it helped me in every single workout. Like pacing, really teaches pacing, and that helped me. I would definitely give him a lot of credit for how well I did at the games.
There's a lot of coaches out there who get in a position of popularity in CrossFit who don't necessarily have the background that you do. What I liked about Chris is he doesn't just talk it, he walks it. And that's what I think is really important in any sport, right? I think it builds some respect that you can't create, you have to earn it.
That 10x800 workout was a workout that I had put on paper just after regionals. It was a workout that is commonly used in the running world. It's called Yasso's 800. And what it is it's 10x800 meters. With an equivalent level of rest, meaning 1-to-1 work to rest. And I put it in there primarily because I need to really show Jason and show Garrett what they're capable of doing to build confidence. And I was right where, thinking Jason's on the bubble. He's right around 3 minutes for 10x800. Wouldn't it be great if this known workout in the running community that's well established, Jason can actually do something special and run 10x800 under 3 minutes. So I programmed him a little faster than what I should have, and I programmed him at 2:58. It was aggressive for him, but it was definitely manageable. You got enough rest. You're recovering in between. Your opening 400 looks very steady. It looks very controlled. A 2-second negative split on that is outstanding. Outstanding. Jason, you got this, man. You got this. One more and we'll be at 7. One more, we'll be at 7. 52, 53, 54. Holy, what is going on? All right, so on this one, right. So not every 100, just go 400 and see where you are. One more, buddy. One more. Nicely done. Negative split, another one. So you could see him struggling. I mean, he is fighting for this thing. And you could see it in his upper body, so he goes back to his old ways. A lot of overstride, but he's pushing. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Woo! 258. 258. Wow. That was it. He is done. Unbelievable. And it was a huge confidence boost. I mean, it was for Jason to be able to sit down on paper and look at his numbers and look at his results. And no one can take that away. Once it's on paper and you did it, it's real. And he'd go through, and it was such a boost for him to be able to sit there and go, you know what? I came on the track and did 10 by 800 and held 258. I'm ready. And that was 2 weeks prior to the games. The CrossFit community has long believed that if you really do focus on a greater amount of aerobic training, running longer distances, it would have a negative impact in your max lifts. It may have a negative impact in your Metcons or even other workouts within your CrossFit routine. And we have seen no drop off in terms of their max lifts. If you talk to Jason, Neil Maddox, Matt Chan, all of their max lifts have gone up during the same time period. So we haven't seen, because of this programming, any negative impact. Everything has been a huge positive. It's exciting. I love being able to coach elite CrossFit athletes. I love that more than anything. I love that. But if I can share like something, with a larger target group, the endurance athletes, the ones that are going out and training for marathons or half marathons or want to do an Olympic distance triathlon, the secret to high performance that I've found is supplementing that work with CrossFit. It brings a level of performance gain and durability that I myself have never experienced, ever. And it comes on a remarkable scale. I mean, it dropped the mile time from 6:20 down to sub 5. That is awesome. And that's where I think there's tremendous value, is for that target group out there. If they just supplement, and I'm talking 2 to 3 days a week, it could bring a level of performance that you'll never see, ever.